Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. My name is Tom Tobin, president of the club, and we're thrilled to have you join us today. This meeting broadcast is available on HCTV as well as our Rotary of Hudson YouTube channel. Our club meets weekly at Laurel Lake for breakfast on Wednesday mornings from 7:15 to 8:30. Come out and join us for a meeting. We would love to have you as a guest. To learn more about Rotary, our club, and the impact we're having on our local community and the world, visit our website, rotaryhudson.org. Enjoy the meeting today and help us share the message that Rotary connects the world.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. It's nice to have a full house this morning. Our invocation this morning is by Joe Avella. No, our invocation this morning, I'll get this straight. I'm gone a week and I forget how to do this. I'm taking lessons from Rich Warfield. Our invocation is by Liz Ramsey.
Hi. Good morning, everybody. Let's bow. Lord of heaven, God of heaven, the great and awesome God, who keeps covenant and steadfast love with us, who loves us and who keeps his promises to us and hears our prayers. According to your will, God, our Father, the only wise God, we plead for our friends here, our families, our president, our armed forces, and our country, and we are thankful to you for every spiritual blessing that you've given us and for our safety and peace. In Jesus' name, amen.
Now I'll get this right. Lead us in the pledge and the four-way test, Joe Avella.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the four-way test. First,
is it the truth?
Second,
is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
will it build goodwill and better friendships?
and fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
And to lead us in song, even though I tried to get her replaced by Hal, but he refused. So to lead us, Chris Barker.
I believe, Mr. Woolbridge, are you suggested we gather together because it's a great Thanksgiving song? I can't sing, so Hal will sing. All right, so may or may not know how it goes, but is it Nicholas? Nathan. Oh, Nathan found it on the web, so we're going to sing We Gather Together. It's accompanied with music, so let's give this a try.
That was great. Way to go, Chris and Nathan. And to introduce our guests.
Yes. Well, thank you, everyone, for singing along. I'm going to introduce our guest today. So many of us know him as Hal D. If he could please stand, he's a guest of Bill Woolbridge. Thanks for joining us, Hal. And then we have our Hudson Service Learning teachers today. We have Jamie Cosman, Marty Bach, And we have a student back there who joined just to be a part of today, Michael Honacki. Thank you so much for joining us. And then we have Joe Rusnak, guest of Jim Ahern, and heck, a guest of mine too. Thank you, Joe. And then my friend and all-around Ms. Hudson, Liz Murphy, also executive director of Destination Hudson. And I see we have another guest here today, Joe Woldridge. Your name was coming to me. Thank you so much for joining us. Guest of Hal, but her husband is Bill. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you, Chris. And now our president, Tom Tobin.
Good morning. Good morning, Rotarians and guests. All right. It is great to see such a full house this morning. Gosh, we've been packing it ever since, it's been like a couple months now. What's going on? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So I just wanted to make the observation. I understand that was an old Netherlands folk song, hymn. And I think I noticed the only difference between English and Dutch is the word wast. Did you guys all notice that? So we'll all be very comfortable in Holland. All right. Tom Page, can I have you come on up and give us just a quick update on the fall fundraiser?
Good morning. Joe Rusnak, I missed you this summer. Right over here, Joe, we missed you this summer playing golf, but you can come back here anytime you want. J-Yard whined and complained, and he delivered. So if, Marty, you hear this, if you want cheese corn, as my fellow cheesehead said, got to get that from Wisconsin, you can have that instead of caramel corn, but you got to let me know. And no, they don't get mixed, okay? Yes, question?
And that's the size of the bag?
No. She knows me.
Could you repeat the question, Tom?
Am I getting fatter from eating more corn? No. Okay, real quick. Next week, we're not going to be here. But the following week is the last week for you getting orders to me because I got to get those roses ordered, okay? I already have some people that have handed me little trinkets that I'm going to put away in my briefcase. So if you have any orders before you leave, see me. I'll be around here, okay? Any questions at all? Is that short enough?
All right, that's great. So Tom, just to get, again, if anyone, for whatever reason, is incapable or doesn't want to sell the roses or the popcorn, we would all...
Write me a check for 100.
Write them a check for 100. Let's make it simple. Or more. Or more. All right. Number 2, Santa on the Green. We've got that coming up on December 7th. Ed Sogan, I believe, is passing around the clipboard. There's just a few slots left for that. I believe the 2 most important ones are we need a Santa for one of the time slots. Oh, sorry. Okay, I tried to say it quietly. And we also need an elf captain for the second shift, which is, what's that, 11 till? Okay, noon till 3. Ed will be passing that around. Let's see. We got a lot of things going on this morning. If I could invite the service learning class up to come and share some information about what's going on there. Mr. Bach, Mr. Cosman.
Excellent. Good morning, Rotarians. Lovely to see you. I'm glad to see that many of you, like me, are supporting Movember, Men's Health Awareness. So, love the mustaches. So, great to see you. No Shave November, well, or Movember. So, there we go. So, good morning, everybody. Before I introduce our first student today, our students are also out there supporting the Rose and Popcorn sale, so we hope to get a number of orders in from the service learning class. And also, I sent out to Mr. Swain sent out to you. We're doing in social studies side of service learning our usual policy presentations. So any Rotarians who would like to come and be part of the audience and ask questions of our students, and that on the various policy initiatives that they have forward, both at the state, Hudson City, and Hudson City Schools levels. Just see the email from Mr. Swain, or you can contact me for any sessions you'd like to attend. Without further ado, I want to introduce a student you're probably familiar with now, and that's Nathan Miklaus.
Hi there, good morning. Morning. So this semester during service learning, my volunteer site is at Laurel Lake. I serve with the missions department. In doing so, I work with residents with their technology. Tuesdays, I do a technology help desk located in the Laurel Lake Library. Wednesdays, I will visit the residents and help them one-on-one in their apartment with any technology like iPads, computers, smart TVs, any of that sorts. My favorite is doing the help desk in the library, working one-on-one with residents, and it's just a great time. Next year, I will be heading to Kent State University, majoring in aeronautics as a concentration of flight technology. Yep.
And one of the things I want to give Nathan credit for is so if he doesn't know like how to fix something, he'll tell them, I'll look it up, and then the next week he comes in with the solution. So I think that is really cool of Nathan. I'm Jamie. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks so much for having us. And I'm one of the English teachers, and we're doing the Random Acts of Kindness presentation. And I know Mr. Swain sent out that email for the sign up, but I thought it might be helpful for people if I just sent this around. So if you want to sign up, our goal is to have 2 people for each slot. 3 people are certainly welcome. The more the merrier to some degree. I think Faith is probably sitting there thinking, no, just 1, but and if you already emailed me and I confirmed it with you, your name is already on here, so you're all set. And then I want to introduce Faith. And Faith, the reason we decided to invite Faith is because during the first quarter of service learning, she was our student who had the most hours served at her site, and it wasn't even that close. And so, yeah, it was absolutely outstanding for Faith. And she's over at Community Connections.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me? Okay. As Mr. Cosman said, my name is Faith Dontelli. So this semester at Service Learning, I'm at Community Connections. And for you that don't know what Community Connections is, it's a organization that works with adults with disability. And at my site, we work with adults that are trying to get out there and get a job, so job development skills. So as we work with them, it can just be a little boring for them. So as we make the atmosphere happy around there, we have a show called the Christmas Spectacular, and so they put on this huge show which they're known for every Christmas time. And at this show, they do Christmas carols, they usually put on a play, and we also work with the headquarters there as well, so we all merge. So a favorite memory I have so far of the whole aspect of it is, so every morning we do Christmas carols, and that's what I'm in charge of, and come up with dance routines. So when I have to do Frozen, we have to really accentuate what we do. So it's really fun seeing all of them get into it, and if they're not, you'll just go up to one of them and just start dancing, and they'll just laugh so hard. But as we do that too, I also have them help me with the crafts and props for the Christmas Spectacular. And so we made lanterns out of wax paper and shredded crayons, and they also ironed them for me and glued them, so they look amazing. So I'm super happy to see that at the Christmas Spectacular. And so for next year, I am hopefully going to attend University of Cincinnati or the University of Dayton, and I would hope to major in nursing, pre-med, nutrition, or an elementary education. And it's a little range, but I'm going to keep my options open to see which ones I like better. So far, it's going with the science, but those are my intents for next year, and yeah. And also, I want to thank you for letting me take a moment of your time to speak.
Were there any questions for the service learning students? Oh.
One quick question. Can we have Nathan be our speaker one time and help us fix all of our problems?
I think there's a business opportunity there, Nathan. Yeah, thank you so much. Boy, that really caught everybody's attention when you mentioned that. And by the way, Nathan, if you're going to study, what was it, aeronautics at Kent State University, I think you better talk to, okay, good, because I think Catherine can get you some brownie points there. All right, now, what the event you've all been waiting for.
Yeah.
Coach Ed Sogan, fine day.
What a rousing applause. That's great. Donna, could you collect on this side? Okay. And Chris, we'll do this side over here. Fine day again, group. So it's a great cause, so please get out your dollars to help out. Santa on the Green is coming up. Once again, it will be at the gazebo. It's December 7th from 9 until 3. The list is going around. The high school kids, if you could please put your hands over your ears. We do need a second shift Santa. Sharon Lowe's husband unfortunately had knee surgery and cannot do it this year. And once again, it's a great opportunity to sit up there and have a great time with our community kids. So think about doing that. The backup will be Destination Hudson. Thank you, Liz. Speaking of that, we have 3 Liz's at the same table. Okay. Each of them will pay $1, please. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, we have Rick Kellar as a speaker. Where's Rick? Oh, right here. Outstanding Hudson student athlete. Students, this is the type of thing, again, that you can emulate in regards to a great career. He was not only, once again, a great student, but competed in swimming and was one of our outstanding swimmers, and actually played football for me, which is the highlight of his athletic career. So I wanted to mention that. Okay, let's see. Around town, the fall seasons are over. All the teams had great years, and in their competitions, you'll see in the paper all the accolades that are coming with all leagues and all district and all state recognition, that type of thing. And now the winter sports are starting. Our girls basketball team starts on Friday, and then everything starts rolling in regards to the winter sports. So plan on attending some of these activities. We got some great teams. The big article in the paper today, I think, in regards to the ice hockey team, and a lot of returning stars coming back for that team. The other thing that we have is our students are putting on a play this weekend on Friday and Saturday. You can look that up again on the Hudson website along with the athletic schedule, but it's Dracula. And ironically, Dr. Bradley Lepper, who received the Distinguished Hall of Fame Award last month, was Dracula in 1973, and he sent along a picture. I think this year's edition will be a little more polished, but he had a unibrow. His collar was like up above his head, and he had those fake teeth that you could get for about $1 back in '73. But he said he will not come back for a cameo appearance because he knows the kids this year are going to be doing a great job. Let's see. Jim Ahern, where are you at here? Okay, Jim, as you know, is a foodie. He really enjoys dining out with his wife, and goes all over the greater Cleveland area. Just last week, he was taking a trip to a highly rated Cleveland restaurant, and when he finished the outstanding meal, he went out looking for the valet to get his car. And his wife was waiting inside because it was a little inclement weather. Looked for the valet, couldn't find him. Went back inside to the maitre d'. Maitre d' called over the owner. Jim explained what happened. The owner said, okay, what did he look like? Because we don't have a valet parking. Okay, pay $1 over there. He did walk to the meeting today, too. So, Jay Yard, this is an idea for getting rid of unwanted junk during the holidays. He puts it in an Amazon box, puts it on his doorstep, and waits for a porch pirate to come by and take away his unwanted stuff. Jay, where you at? It's very creative, but pay $1 over there. Okay. Family gift exchange ideas. Chris Barker had a great one last year. It was an iconic Christmas gift. She wrapped up in a beautifully wrapped box. She put 4 AA batteries with a typed message and a note that said, "Gift not included." Chris, pay $1 over there. It was very creative, but I think you'll get a lump of coal this Christmas from Santa. Bad Boys Table. These guys, once again, this is a group right here. They're living the dream. One of their members, when he gets bored during the holidays and during the holiday rush, he drives off to the Summit Mall when the parking lots are packed. He finds a great spot, sits in his car with the brake lights on for hours. Pay $1 over there for that particular group right there. Speaking of mall activity, Andy Morris. Okay, Andy has a favorite as he's sitting in the mall walk area on one of the benches with all the husbands waiting for their wives to finish shopping. He sits patiently and he finds a great spot again to sit, and he waits until someone sits right down next to him, and he stares straight ahead, and just loudly enough, he'll say, "Did you bring the money?" Andy, pay $1 over there. Bad Girls Table, not mentioning any names today, but again, there's a national program in regards to drink responsibly, and was mentioned today that one of the members said to drink responsibly to me means not spilling it. So pay $1 over here. Okay. Oh, today's Rotary quiz. Okay, we have team 1 over here, and we'll divide it right down the middle. If you get the answer, the other side pays. If you don't get the answer, you pay $1.
Hold on, do we get the students?
No, they can't. Oh, well, unless they're going to pay $1. Okay, these are really tough questions, and I don't think, again, this may be above your pay grade. This side, why did the turkey cross the road twice? Oh, excellent. That's pathetic. To prove he wasn't chicken. Pay $1. These are Thanksgiving. What was the groan? That was a great one. Okay, over on this side. What do you get when you cross a turkey with a ghost? A poultrygeist. Okay, pay $1 over here. Let's raise those dollars. Donna's hustling around. Look at those bucks go up. That's good. Okay, we have 2 more questions. So far, we're striking out for the students. This group never gets any of these answers. I don't know why. These are simple ones here. Okay. Hal. Oh, no, it's Rick Kellar. Rick was running away. That's what happens when a former coach embarrasses you. He just leaves. Okay, this side over here, what kind of music did the Pilgrims like to play?
Plymouth Rock?
Oh, Plymouth Rock over here. Pay another $1 over there. Okay, now you got a chance to get back at him. Why did the police arrest the turkey?
Impersonating a chicken.
No. They suspected foul play. See, I told you. Okay, we found a new survey found that 80% of the men claim to help with the Thanksgiving dinner. That makes sense when you consider them saying, "That smells good," to be helping. Staying positive, Hal Desasor. Okay, one of our, he's back. Welcome back. He didn't lead the singing, so he's got to get hit. Staying positive, Hal was heard saying at the table today that last Monday he fell down the basement stairs. This is staying positive. But instead of getting upset, he thought, "Wow, that's the fastest I've moved in years." Pay $1 there, Hal. Another great moment, another great thought for the bad girls table. You guys are getting hit twice here. One of the members said, I've realized I'll never return to my original weight. And I'm okay with that. 7 pounds, 20 ounces is just not realistic. Pay a buck over there. Where's Sue Carter? There's Sue Carter over there. Sue Carter mentioned her new answering machine message. Here it is. I'm not available right now, but thank you for caring enough to call. I'm making some changes in my life. Please leave a message after the beep. If I don't return your call, you are one of the changes. Pay a buck. Joe Avella, sitting back there. Joe was just talking today, had some wonderful insight. You know, when you buy a bag of lettuce and it gets all brown and soggy, cookies don't do that. Get it? Cookies don't do that. Joe Avella loves cookies. Okay. Quotes from our favorite land baron and gentleman farmer, Rotarian Rich Warfield. We'll call this Rich's Life's Lessons or Rich Isms. I'll have a few of these later on, but we've got a couple of them. Once again, you know, he owns this large tract of land. What kind of animals you have on it now? Horses, llamas, bulls, cows? Yeah. Okay. Your fences need to be horse high, pig tight, and bull strong. That's the first lesson. Life is simpler when you plow around the stump. Another good one. Forgive your enemies. It messes with their heads. The last two show his Minnesota linguistic skills. Most of the stuff people worry about ain't going to never happen anyway. And finally, sometimes you get, and sometimes you get got. Pay a buck there, Rich, for those wonderful. Oh, hey, congratulations to Stu Murray. I was gone. I've contributed like $150 to the $500 pot that he ended up winning. So your fine today, surprisingly, is $500. Jeez Louise. Okay, Rotary birthdays. Now, I did listen to last, I guess it was October's meeting, and it was on cable TV, and the sound was of very, very poor quality. So I don't care what you sound like. We want to really bring the volume up because these people deserve it. This is a group of excellent Rotarians, from the newbies to our people with years and years of experience in the Rotary. This is a great group. Andy Morris, 30 years. Let's have a nice round of applause from him. Followed closely by Dan Rich, 23 years. Jim Hackney, 18 years. Rich Warfield, how many years? 15. 14. Ron, that's right. Ron Strobel, 21. Tom Page, 12. Jay Yard, 4. Ralph Day, 2. Sue Carter, 2. And Phil Tobin, 25 years. Let's have a nice round of applause. And a nice happy birthday. Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. This is what happens when you leave teaching. You're retired. This is the kind of job you get. Okay. Rotary anniversaries. Oh, we already said that. Where we got here? Oh, Rotary birthdays. Oh, that was their anniversaries. Fine for me. All right, Sue Carter. Her birthday was on the 1st. We were singing happy birthday for the anniversaries. Anyway. Donna Kastner on the 4th. Greg Box on the 20th. David Basil on the 22nd. Wife's birthday, Joan Tobin on the 5th. And Doris Barnhart on the 20th. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Okay. All right. I'll leave you. Oh, some happy news. Anybody with happy news, please stand up. Give a buck or two to the cause. Tell what's good and happening with your life. Rich Warfield.
Minnesota Vikings, 8-3. Kirk Cousins, 3 touchdown passes last week. Thank you.
Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Liz.
Liz, I have happy news, especially for Jim Ahern. We have a new program, you heard it here first, Sips and Bites, A Taste of Hudson. Sponsored Destination Hudson. Starts in January. It's going to be all over the place. 21 restaurants in town. You get a passport. You have 6 months to visit them all. More later.
Okay. That's an advertisement. That's $10, Liz. Okay. Liz?
My preemie that was 4 pounds is now 9 pounds 2 ounces. And I got 2.5 hours of sleep last night.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right. I'll leave you. Andy.
Just want to say that Ann and I came back from last week. We were in Cuba where I ran the Havana Marathon. Oh my gosh, those people down there really know how to have a party.
Okay. Yes.
My baby got engaged last weekend.
Anyone else? Oh,
I got married on November 2nd.
get out of here. Anybody else? Okay, I'll leave you with this little message as we move forward. Yesterday is the past, tomorrow is the future, but today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. Have a great Thanksgiving, and thanks, everybody.
Really well done. How about our fine master? He always brings it. That's great. All right, our speaker this morning. Rick asked me not to read all this, but I'm going to hit on just a few of the high points here. Rick Kellar is president of PEGS Foundation, a position he's held since 2000, the Joint Special Operations Command and at the Pentagon, and as Director of Resourcing for the Army Operations and Readiness Initiative, in which he supervised an $8.6 billion annual program. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Nuclear Engineering from the United States Military Academy at West Point, and an MBA from Syracuse University. One of the items that I appreciate in particular, Rick has served as president. Well, he served on the board of the Talmadge School Board since 2005 and currently serves as president. As you heard earlier, well, also, Rick is a 1982 graduate of Hudson High School, so a fellow alum, and he was inducted into our High School Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame in 2017. Would you all welcome Rick Kellar? Thank you.
So it's kind of funny to listen. There's very few events that I go to that involve Rotary that my former football coach isn't up front calling people out. And I'm like, that's like goes back to like the early 80s, sir. So I got $5 in my pocket to cover your fine for being the guy up front that calls everybody out. That hasn't changed since 1980. And I do have $5 in my pocket. So that's to the good of the order. And then, yeah, let's get that. Because I might. Chris Barker, your local banker. And thank you to Nathan and Faith. It's a great example. And it was interesting because I wanted to mention, obviously, I grew up here in Hudson, K-12 club kid. And my mother was a third grade teacher here in town. And she kind of taught, like, I always think about my career or life and what drives me to do things like get on a school board in a town I didn't grow up in. That's a little towny at times, by the way. And I can say that because, like, I've been in Talmadge for a long time now, over 20 years. With 2 daughters, Sophia and Emma. They're doing awesome. K-12 club kids from Talmadge. And then my wife, Sherry, who has MS, who's wheelchair bound. But it's been a great experience for us living there. And I remember, Tom, when you came to me, you're like, hey, I'm thinking about getting involved in the school board. I'm like, really? Okay. But both of us have the experience, the shared experience, I think, of boards that are functioning well. It's not always the case. When you're in local, air quotes, politics, and in school districts, sometimes stuff can get tough. But if you have smart folks that really are putting the interest of the students first, and the community second, and are responsible taxpayers, good things happen. And I think that's always been the case for me and my experience as a kid from Hudson. I know it's the experience that you're experiencing, Tom, and it's and we don't get paid much to do the job, by the way, just in case you're wondering. So, you know, it's funny when you say, hey, I'm from Hudson. Like, well, we're in Hudson, right? So I'll tell you, Woodacre Drive. If there's anyone knows Bob Kagler, they bought my parents' house that my parents built back in like the late 50s, like 1960, 61. And I lived there until I went off to West Point, so it was a cool experience. My mom, as I mentioned, I credit kind of my parents. My dad was a blue-collar worker, and they taught us, like, we didn't always have that was when Hudson was a little bit more economically diverse, and it still is, but it was a lot more so back then. And I remember there was tough times growing up, but my parents were determined, both coming from broken families, that we're going to raise our kids in a stable house and in a stable town. And they chose Hudson, and I'm grateful to be from here. And I never dreamed in my wildest dreams that I'd be working in Hudson. Like, I can't believe that I kind of did this full circle, participated in every major war conflict since the Gulf War, and that's the first one. And then to think that I'm back, like, I commute into Hudson every day to 10 West Streetsboro Street it's a little surreal, but that's not a complaint. It's just something that's always felt odd to me. And, you know, my parents, and I think Nathan and Faith are learning this, and it's great to hear from the teachers that, you know, that the community of Hudson, I think, instills in us to serve something greater, better, or more important than ourselves. It's that giving back. I think there's a call to faith in that. If you're that type of person, you know, I'm a Christian, so I think of it that way, but it's not a requirement to decide to give back and care for something outside of yourself. And again, I credit growing up here in Hudson to be able to be prepared to be successful and to go to some of the very difficult schools I went to and to do some of the very difficult things that I guess I did. And I could never get in. We joke as a West Point grad, like, the standards are so much higher now and it's so much more competitive. And, like, I'm not sure I get in. Like, if my resume in 1982, I'm not sure I get in. And that's a cool thing to say. And I'm grateful that I guess I went in 1982 and not 2019. So pretty cool stuff. It's interesting because, like, I thought it was really cool. Like, hey, Rick was at JSOC, Delta Force, Green Beret. He's done all this really neat stuff. I almost was going to cuss. Sorry, that's the Army in me. He's a bad guy, right? Like, he's tough, right? And then I was reading an article this weekend. It's called Politico put it out. And this is nothing political, by the way, just so everyone, just a caution. But there's this article, it's called The West Point Mafia of Class of '86, which is my class. And so one of my former roommates and several of my friends serve in government. And I thought I was pretty accomplished and pretty cool, but, like, I'm not Mike Pompeo, so I'm not the Secretary of State, and I'm not the former CIA director, and I'm not Mark Esper, who's the former Secretary of the Army and is now Secretary of Defense, and I'm not Lieutenant General Dan Hokanson, who runs the Army National Guard, and I'm not Joe Martin, who's the Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, who basically runs all the money, or several other folks throughout the administration and throughout the Department of Defense that are currently serving our country. And they're great folks. You know, you get caught up in the politics of the day. And I would tell you, they're good folks. They have high character, and I'm grateful that they're serving. And I wish them luck every day because those aren't easy jobs, and I think they bring great ethos. But this article, it was about this West Point Mafia, and there's a list of several other names on there, and I just didn't find my name. I was looking like Rick Kellar. They didn't call me to ask me about these guys. Like, and interestingly, most of us came from the 1st Regiment. It's a tight-knit group, so I had a chance to go down to Joe Martin's promotion to 4-star general and the assignment to Vice Chief of Staff of the Army. And we were swimmers, actually, so I knew Joe that way. And, oh, God, I'm blanking on his name. Whoever Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff is now. He's not one of my classmates, so who cares, right? Right. So Mark Milley says, and he's just this beer-drinking Boston hockey player guy, and I had a chance to serve with him earlier when he wasn't a 4-star general. And he made a joke, and it was true. I was there when he made the joke, and it was in the article. So I kind of feel like I was in the article anyway from this past weekend, where he said, you know, if you're in the Class 86, you have a better chance of being a cabinet member than, like, a 4-star general. And that was at Joe's promotion, so it's kind of a funny anecdote. I don't share that other than to say that you know, if you turn off cable news, understand that there's some folks that I think have some good morals that are trying to do smart things in the storm of politics, which sometimes we can get caught up in and wonder what the hell's going on behind those doors. Mission and vision, so PEG's foundation. So I come back home serving in the reserves, and I get an opportunity. You know, I knew the Morgans growing up, and had a chance. You know, Bert more than once had corralled me to say, "Hey, could you work here or do this?" And like, if anyone knew Bert, Bert was quite a character, quite a maverick, and a great mentor and friend. But I don't think I could have ever worked for him. I mean, not without getting fired within like several months. So it never came to fruition, but kind of laid the groundwork for what would ultimately become PEG's Foundation, formerly the Margaret Clark Morgan Foundation. And I had the great benefit of the last time I saw Bert and PEG together, he had kind of entrusted me with some of her finances and so forth. But the short side of it was I developed a relationship with PEG through those first couple of years after Bert was gone. And I know there's several others in the room that knew the Morgans, I say knew now because they're both passed, and understand the dynamics of being a very wealthy family, but very simple and humble, particularly when it comes to PEG. And several of us in this room also were very supportive of PEG after Bert was gone. And I've always appreciated that there wasn't a great deal of folks that circled the wagons to take advantage. It happens, and in their case it did happen a little bit. But the reality is that PEG had great supports because she was a humble, smart, quiet person who, in spite of the fact that was often lived in the shadow of Bert's big personality, had a big personality of her own. You know, college grad, which for her generation, she'd been 101 this year, 101 years old this year, so there's not a lot of women that you could go back. Well, all the men didn't have college degrees, but to be a woman and have one was pretty remarkable. So the foundation came about because the Morgans' youngest child and only son has schizophrenia. So Dave had great struggles, and it wrought great division on the family too, because you have parents that, you know, one parent says he just needs to straighten up, and the other parent says, yeah, but, you know, wants to care and nurture. See if you can guess which parent I'm talking about, right? And that's part of the stigma of mental illness. It's hard to understand depression, significant clinical chronic depression over a lifetime, or bipolar disorder, or schizophrenia, because there's great treatments out there, but they're hard to find. There's great stigma around the illness, and it's not easy to understand. I mean, the brain is an organ that, you know, we understand the heart, we understand bones, and we understand healing of most of the body, but when it comes to the brain, it's very hard, because the brain often is connected to the heart. So it creates great division in the family. So they determined to create this foundation, which they did. In '99 was the initial discussion. 2001 it was chartered. When Bert passed away on March 6th of 2003, I think folks were very surprised at how much of his estate he provided to the Margaret Clark Morgan, now PEG's Foundation. And so currently, our mission became to invest in innovative projects throughout northeastern Ohio. So we have sort of an 18-county area, although most of our funding lands within the greater Summit County area and contiguous counties. But invest in those projects that are innovative, but that have national transformational impact, which gives me a mandate to tell the rest of the country that what we do in Ohio is better than what they do. And it's kind of fun too, because and I make them come to Ohio to learn about what we do. I say, yeah, this is one of those states you usually fly over, between Chicago and New York and LA and Boston and Philly. I said, every once in a while, if you come by here, you might realize that there's some folks that love, care, and actually are pretty smart and know some things about how to implement, try treatments, and do things different. So we're fortunate to be in Summit County, which is where AA was founded. It's sort of the birthplace of recovery, if you will, and it allows us to be very dynamic and creative in some of the work we do. So I'll share a couple of I'm just gonna look at time, make sure. Oh man, flying. Well, I should slow down because I've only got an hour of material and I'm trying to fit it into, 50 minutes, right, Coach? So that's what we do. So founded, 2003. I came in about 2005. I want to give a shout out to Deb Hoover, who did phenomenal work getting the blocking and tackling. This, you could listen to my background and say, well, that guy's really smart. He's detail oriented. And then everyone that knows me would laugh really hard because that's not at all. I'm lucky and I guess a little smart maybe, but I'm not detail oriented. And Deb's background as an attorney, she was able to create a lot of blocking and tackling for the organization. So I could come in and not have to worry about the IRS or other entities like that because I wouldn't have been paying attention to this stuff. And then she's doing great work over at the Burton D. Morgan Foundation on entrepreneurship. And so we're excited that, some people sometimes ask, why are these foundations in, they're like separate entities. And there's a couple thoughts we have. One is Bert and Peg were very different people. The missions are very unique and you pursue them very differently, principally very different business lines. You could think of it that way. And the boards are very unique. And the type of boards we each have, I think, support the mission. And the mission being different, therefore the boards are different. A little bit more family involvement in our organization, which was intentional. So that's kind of the why. And we think it's helpful and good. There could be a day where that changes, but probably I don't know. It's the nature of the missions. We always feel that they each deserve that singular, separate focus. Maybe is the way to think about it. So Peg was in the room when we set that mission statement that I mentioned to you, our vision, and started forward on our 3 areas. So mental health is 80% of our grant making, so we're endowed at about $100 million. So 5%, think $5 million. $5 million, it's the thing we do, right? It's we take it all very seriously, so don't get me wrong. But our tagline's Think Bigger, and the reason our tagline is Think Bigger is because one day we were having this large debate around about a $2,500 grant, and Peg, who didn't say much but always took notes very deliberately. And she wrote down these 2 words, and a guy named Bill Fellows, who looked, well, let's see what Peg just wrote something down. Hey, Peg, what'd you write? And she pushed the paper over to him, and it said Think Bigger, because we were spending a lot of time on what we would consider, hey, $2,000's a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but a lot of time debating about what was a small grant, but we weren't really talking about things like, could you cure schizophrenia? Could you deliver services differently? Could you have figured out that Dave Morgan had schizophrenia when he was in 8th, 10th, or 12th grade instead of figuring it out when he was 24 and through a suicide attempt, institutionalized, and all the difficulty that they then experienced? So it really changed our thinking, and it's why when we rebranded, I think it's going to be 2 years ago, we became Peg's Foundation, because we felt like Peg was just this person that cared and was a mom, and this was her thing. And if anyone, many of you knew Peg in the room, and you wouldn't have ever called her Margaret. So like we just said, her name's Peg. Now I don't think it's ever going to be Bert's Foundation across the street, but that's the nature of these 2 personalities. So we thought it was cool to do that, and the family embraced it. Peg's daughters embraced it, grandchildren. And so that I'm wandering here a little bit. So I want to give, because I want to leave a couple minutes for questions, like how do you get a grant and all that kind of stuff. Go to the website. That's how you do it. A couple cool projects that we do. So our education commitment, we partnered with Hudson City Schools, did several things there. I think the cafe's probably still up and running and some version of that. That was fun. Helped out with the stadium and some other things. But we ultimately felt like we were doing a lot of things and weren't really getting that big idea, that Think Bigger idea. So we ended up partnering with LeBron James. It's for those of you that don't know, there's this famous basketball player that was from Akron, Ohio, named LeBron James. He plays for the Lakers now, which is kind of a bummer. But we partnered with his foundation to help support the I Promise School and bring some mental wellness, mental health into there. And it's a very successful effort, but not a very easy effort. Hey, the honeymoon's over. Let me say it that way. Honeymoon's over. sleeves are rolled up, we're doing some hard work, but we feel with all the different partners in the I Promise program that are partnered with LeBron's Foundation that if we can flip this switch in Akron, it'll have a dramatic effect on the surrounding area of Akron and really how people view urban education. And we can stop that desperate downward cycle of parents and brokenness raising a group of kids that they're not educated, they don't understand the value of education. If we can break that cycle here in Akron, which is our goal. I mean, hey, if the rest of the world wants to copy it, great. But if we can break it in Akron, and we're probably on a 10 to 30 year plan to do that, because we need our kids to graduate in this I Promise program to then raise another generation of kids. So now I've got family examples, and it can be a blended family. It doesn't matter what the family looks like, but that you have that generational change that can occur. So that's that big idea. That's our education budget. I know Phil at Hudson Schools is kind of a little bummed out because we don't do grant support in education. But we do pay our property taxes, by the way, which I could waive because I'm a nonprofit, but I don't because I figure that's like kind of mean-spirited. But because we own a couple buildings downtown. So anyway, we're not talking about buildings downtown either, or we might get a question on it, right? So that's the education area. Arts area, we do about a third of our work with some of the usual suspects, folks that have proven their Akron Civic Theater, Akron Art Museum, again, Summit County-based stuff, Magical Theater Company, Apollo's Fire we just awarded recently, last week, an Impact Award. They do great work. And that's sort of your more, typical grant making. And then we have a gallery in our building. So if you're ever out and about, come in to 10 West Streetsboro Street, just go in the lobby during business hours, I recommend. So you won't be disappointed because the building will be locked. And we just rotate a couple artists about 5 times a year. We flip it out, so maybe they're there a couple months. And it's just artists, professional grade, high school art students, graduate level. Most of them are professional grade. And that's one of the coolest things we do. And it's also the cheapest thing we do, which is ironic as a grant maker. One of the coolest things you do doesn't cost a lot of money. Imagine that. Like, I need more of those kind of ideas. And then, of course, in mental health. And so a couple of mental health things we're doing we're excited about is we've got this statewide project where we're trying to change how the mentally ill circulate through the criminal justice system. And it's too early. It's post-breakfast, so I won't get into too much of the details. But, somebody's mentally ill. Sometimes they do things that are against the law. I know that surprises folks. Directing traffic in the middle of Main Street naked. You're not supposed to do that. But you're hearing voices, so you're doing it. So you get arrested, and that thing can escalate pretty quickly, create risk to the officer, create risk to the individual. And what it really is you're not arresting you wouldn't arrest somebody for cancer, but you're arresting somebody because they have schizophrenia. Well, they're disturbing the peace too. But what is the way that you get that person from that point of emergency and disruption of the public order to a more healthy processing or healthy treatment? And usually they end up in the ER or jail. And then they circle back, and the next thing you know, same person's out on the street, directing traffic, naked in the middle of Main Street. So how do you break that cycle? So we've got a statewide project we're working on with Governor DeWine and Lori Chris, who's the OMAS director, Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services, to kind of fix that. We're in 48 counties of our 88 counties statewide. Some are terrible, some are great. So when I say 48, it doesn't mean we're like 48 of 88 there, because some of those counties are early in. But we feel like, again, game changer in Ohio. There's no other state in the country that is doing what we're doing here in Ohio, and we're doing it at a fraction of the cost. So we've got some national foundations we're hoping to partner with to bring some money into town. So that's so I think of those as like 3 cool projects. And last thing I'd say is I came to this as a veteran thinking, hey, mental health, it's cool, but man, it'd be better if it was like veteran stuff, or, selfishly, egotistically thinking, 1, the job was going to be easy, and 2, that, there's maybe some other stuff, because the mental illness isn't in my family. And then we did a ribbon cutting at a place called the Psychiatric Intake Response Center in Akron Children's Hospital. And some of you guys have heard this story, I think. And so I went to it kind of another ribbon cutting, right? Terrible thing to have to do, Mayor Basil, right? But you go. Like there was a neat letter to the editor this week about how you go to that stuff because you know it's important, not because it's necessarily fun. It's the routine of, and so I went down there and I cut a ribbon with Bill Considine and some others and got out of there quick before they asked me for more money. And a month later at 10:30 at night, I'm there, short side of the long story, is my daughter had self-harmed, and I'm in the emergency intake that we helped fund with Timken Foundation. And I'm like, it was a surreal moment, and it made me think like, that's why God's got me here. And I felt good about that, and I felt called to the work in a different way. And I'm grateful that Peg Morgan entrusted me and our board to think bigger and to be part of a community, Hudson, and to bring that idea of like serve something greater and more important than yourself. And oh, by the way, the neat thing is her son Dave is doing great. He's in a group home. Like if you met Dave, there was periods of his life where you'd think like, this guy's got schizophrenia, or you'd probably call him nuts or crazy. You met Dave now, you wouldn't, you just wouldn't know it. And he's in a group home. He's at probably his max recovery level, but he's doing great, and that's what's cool. And Peg knew he was at that trajectory of recovery before she passed away. So she knew Dave, stable, and we're always grateful for that. So thank you.
Rick, do you have a few moments to stay around and answer questions from folks? I mean, I hope you do. We're right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hey, thanks for being here this morning, Rick. I'm so proud of. I knew the Morgans very well. They were our next door neighbors growing up. For Dad, you spent a lot of time with both of them. We got to know them very well. I really appreciated them. I'll certify everything that you said about how crazy it was to work with Bert sometimes. But Peg was completely different and just a complete pleasure all the time. And, I just think that's so great, that she recognized that she had the means, that they had the means to make a difference, to really, as you said, think big and think beyond their own family and what they could do with this wealth to make the world a better place. They recognized that, and I think you're the instrument through which they express that. And I just, for our students and for everybody, I'd like to hold Rick up as an example of a hero. Yeah. So just a few things. We have Rotabuck, real quickly. Could I get you to pick a ticket?
Oh, man.
This is a big responsibility here.
So one person gets the grant, everyone else is out.
That's right. Just like every day. All right. The last four numbers are 2468. 2468. And by the way, the payout today is $18. Bill Wildridge? All right. Okay, that's very generous. Okay, Bill's going to give this to Peg's Foundation, and no, not to Peg's Foundation. You want to? We'll give it to. How about to the? Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how about to the charity today, the food bank, Hudson Food Bank? All right, I twisted his arm on that one. And Bill, the jackpot is $130. No, I'm sorry. All right. So try again next week. We have a foundation board meeting immediately after this in the, I believe, the Greenwood small dining room. We have a lot of things going on right now. We have Santa on the Green. We've got the fall fundraiser, popcorn, roses. We have Salvation Army. I'm working with Marty in the service learning class so that we can partner with them on doing some of the bell ringing, and we'll be receiving some emails about that so that we can partner with the students and be there at Acme ringing the bell. We have the random acts of kindness presentations that the service learning class is relying on us to attend, to comment on, or whatever we do at that. But and by the way, you can sign up for more than one. Keep an eye out for the email from. And there is a sign-up sheet. Okay. watch your emails for details on these things. And let's see. What else do we have? What's next?